Good morning. Monday morning again. Doesn't the weekend go really fast when we're back in front of the screens? Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend and all really recovered and refreshed, ready to take on this new trading week. So pretty much I'm starting off very slowly this week, just making sure I don't make any rash mistakes and start losing all the money I made end of last week. So just very quickly take a quick look at the news being released today. As we can see, pretty much everything has already been released that's going to come out, and there's nothing significant or major around the releases. So it's really good that we've got that out of the way. We can just really look at see how the charts are reacting and go more on the technical level and not worry about any of the fundamentals that are going to be really sort of having a bad impact on what we're trying to do. So what's interesting is the main thing I'm looking at today is euro dollar and gold. Now euro dollar, have a look at that chart first. I still think there's a significant amount of selling pressure on euro dollar. We've seen that if we look at the higher time frame, especially on the 4 hour, it started to really come off from the highs of the previous couple of weeks and have that sort of starting into a new downtrend. And the only reason why it has reversed and come up significantly is all around non-farm payroll figures that came out on Friday. Obviously with the stream that I did around watching those figures, it was really clear that not quite what was expected the figures to come out. They really sort of had a negative impact on the dollar, and that's why we saw a huge spike back up in this particular pair. Now, as we're seeing going on since then, it started to reject some of the key levels and almost start falling off. So that's why I'm looking for an entry into euro dollar. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. It's one of those tricky ones that price is still in that sort of potentially could bounce and go up. But if I go and look at my hour chart, it's clear that we are starting to see with a sloping downtrend. I don't like a lot of times these sloping downward trend lines for entries or stop losses, but what it does show is where the pressure may be coming on price, and actually now starting to see some downward pressure. And also go back a few days on the particular pair, we can see around here we had a new spike low, and obviously when this yellow zone we've got drawn across the chart, that was tested towards the end of last week. It broke down, price came back and retested, therefore that's showing that this is a level that we can start using new support and resistance. Price did reject off of that before non-farm payroll figures came out, and so the prices bounced up significantly. Since then, price has started to show a bit more weakness and starting to come down. But again, there's no real clear signal for me at the moment where I'm going to get entry, but I'm just going to be watching this. We're looking potentially that we could get a target of 100 pips or more. Price could come down to 1.2 or even lower. A lot of the analysts and forecasts are saying down to 1.19, but we just need to wait and see. This is one that I potentially could let run for the rest of this week if I can find a reasonable entry. And so the other thing I'm really looking at the moment is gold. Now, very, very similar thing happened to gold pretty much. There was a lot of weakness in gold at the end of last week. Now, this chart here, we can see where price came off the highs and we started to see some pressure. Again, drawing that sort of downward trend line just to show where the price is falling down. It was clear that obviously some news announcements came out on Thursday. Price crashed quite considerably. We saw a $30 move before it started to reverse. Now, it is almost a sort of head and shoulder reversal pattern. So we have some higher highs and the lower lows. We've got that reversal pattern coming in. Also, non-farm payrolls came out again on Friday. Price absolutely spiked. That was obviously expected with the negativity in the figures, and also a lot of people looking at the long-term inflationary figures potentially and some of the treasury bonds and the returns on those. So therefore gold was seen as a slightly safe haven. But as we're now seeing going into today, people are starting to digest that information and really look at what could be coming on. And also a lot more people are predicting gold will be under pressure this week, with prices coming down back into the 1850 range. Now, where are we looking at price not going above? at 1900 as a key level. Now if we look at where we had price previously, again this yellow zone, it broke down, and with the non-farm payroll figures came back up and tested into 1896, didn't break above it, so that's showing us that that level is quite key and will give us a bit of a resistance level. Again, looking on a 15-minute chart, I have taken a sell entry on gold right now. I took it earlier this morning, just more speculative based, just on the fact that we were seeing some selling pressure overnight on the Asia session, and obviously that was sort of looking to continue into the London and potentially the US. That hasn't happened so far. I am just over $1.50 off my entry price. I'm selling at one lot, so in UK pound terms, that's about £70 per lot. So I'm currently £100 down. That's $1.50 on the price from entry. Now I've put a speculative stop loss here above the high of the end of last week. So that is me risking 1%. That's about a $10 move from where we are. So therefore I'm not breaking my 1% rule on any particular trade. And I also believe that's quite highly respected based on where price has been moving over the past couple of days. Now, what I am looking at as well is if price does start breaking above this, again, sloping down trend line, I'll get a bit more interested and I'll start to possibly manage the position differently, because we could be seeing some reversals coming, and therefore I want to protect my position as much as I can and potentially reduce the risk by moving my stop loss closer. I'll just zoom out a little bit on this chart. Might give a bit more indication of what we're looking at. We're seeing a bit of support coming in as of today at 1881. So if price does continue as we're looking at coming down with a bit more weakness, we could potentially see a break of this 1881 and therefore price come all the way back down to 1860 to 1850. That's my target. It's going to give me a nice 2-to-1 on my return to risk, and therefore that's well within my parameters of at least greater than 1-to-1. And again, if I can get through today with price coming back down below 1880, I'll move my stop loss to break even. So my entry point is 1883.5, move to break even, and therefore let the trade run for no risk whatsoever. So I'm fairly confident about this trade, but as always, there's nothing certain or guaranteed in trading. It really is looking at what we can see on the charts, how we can set things up, and really just manage that throughout the day, because we can see this could be quite a slow trading week. So I'm not really going to be spending too much time in front of the charts. I've got the open trade, I'll let it run. As a stop loss, take profit in place. So it should be fairly stress-free. Just want to take a quick look at the FTSE 100. Again, this is a chart of today. We know that obviously last week it was really becoming quite range bound. It was really sort of sticking in this sort of zone, and it still is there. It was only really the end of last week where price started to break out above that range, but we're now sort of getting back into where it is. And again, we'll look on sort of today's chart. Get rid of that. So many clicks on MetaTrader to remove one thing. So around the opening today on FTSE was a massive spike. We're seeing almost a 40 to 50 point movement in that opening session. That's what we're seeing. Yeah, 48 to 50 point movement just on the opening session. So again, that shows me that there's a bit more of indecision. There was some big positions moving around, people not really knowing what's going on. Now the FTSE itself, because we know it's made up of 100 shares, the pre-open market is all set by market makers, so therefore their predictions based on what they believe the shares are valued at. So they're obviously looking at a lot of other things in the market, so that's why we tend to get these big fluctuations. That's why I won't normally trade around the opening of these particular sessions and let it wait for it just to die down and see what's going to happen in the next sort of hour or so. Let's have a look at the bigger picture. Go out to 4-hour chart. Again, the indices are showing a fairly strong uptrend. Prices moving up quite nicely and starting to break out to some reasonable highs. So really need to be seeing price coming up to sort of 7,100 or higher to then start potentially looking at fading that high and price coming back down into the 7,000. That's what I'll be looking at this week on FTSE. I can't see anything else on this trade at the moment. It's just a bit of a mess, really. And even on 5-minute chart, there is absolutely no trend forming to be able to continue this on the day. So if I was looking for just a few more normal trades, as I say, just literally trend following, we need to be seeing a continuous trend for a good couple of hours on here, maybe between the Asia session and the UK session, and we're not seeing anything on FTSE. It just really is not giving me anything to want to trade. So I would almost want to ignore that for the entire day and wait for price just to settle, especially when there's no news out. There's nothing to get any people excited today. What else have a quick look at? So we'll take a quick look at British pound. Again, we'll take a higher time frame for an hour. So it doesn't get me excited. Again, taking a zoom out over, what's that, a 2-week period on a 1-hour chart. As we can see, it's literally range bound between 142, 141, so 100 pip range bound. It's just bouncing around. No clear trend, no clear direction. It's just, give me a break. Come on, start doing something I want to get excited about. And even going into lower time frames where we might possibly get some smaller intraday trends forming. Nope, nothing there. No patterns, no trends. Again, on a 5-minute chart, we're probably looking at, say, most of these things a bit more downward pressure. So we're getting a bit of a squeeze now on where pound may be, breaking out through any of those channels or those lines, but I can't see it doing that, as we've got just confusion and noise. I think it's going to be the story of today, really. Just nothing really setting up to go in any particular direction. Quick look at Swissy. Again, zoom out a little bit. Nothing happening on that pair either. We can see the reaction again to non-farm payrolls end of last week. Price came up on the Thursday. Then we had non-farm payrolls come out Friday. Price came all the way back down to where it was. So we can almost ignore that as a kind of chart panel. There's a kind of double top in there for price reversal. And we're going to start seeing more consolidation and continuing in the trend that has done. If we look on a daily chart, we are seeing much more selling pressure on the daily on the Swissy. So potentially we could see some more selling and breaks we get into here. Targeting 0.878. Is there anything further out that might stop it getting to that level? You can go to a monthly chart. Again, it's not something I normally trade the Swissy, so I generally would leave that alone. The other thing that's getting me excited at the moment really is Bitcoin. in a strange way. It's not anything I'm actually trading on this particular platform. It's more for the investments I have in cryptocurrency. And yeah, for two announcements that have come quite recently on Bitcoin over the weekend, is actually three if we include a tweet by Elon Musk. So Elon Musk tweeted over the weekend that he was heartbroken with Bitcoin. Now, we take everything he says with a pinch of salt, because it could just be that he's just trying to manipulate price and get it to come up. Then China announced that they were not going to restrict people from mining Bitcoin, and therefore that allows more of a potential within China over the next couple of years for them to actually start accepting Bitcoin, especially if they've got more of the currency within that country. And El Salvador have now announced they're actually going to take Bitcoin as a legal tender in their country. So they currently have dollar, their native currency as well. I'm not sure what the El Salvador currency is, and obviously going to do Bitcoin as well. So that'd be the first country in the world where actually going to have legal tender of Bitcoin, which is actually quite a big move. Now, we know El Salvador has been huge unrest in the past couple of years. They've got a lot of oil problems, a lot of inflationary problems, and this potentially could see them moving away from their traditional currencies into more of a cryptocurrency. Definitely an interesting announcement, and price on Bitcoin has been recovering over the weekend. Now, if we just take a slightly 4-hour look at this, we can see from when China was making their big moves a couple of weeks ago and price just dropped, let's say from 50,000 into the 29, 30,000 region. Obviously, there's a big rebound from that, and we've started to see a bit more sideways consolidation. But on a positive, we have seen some slightly higher highs and some higher lows, so therefore price is trending upwards. Now, I think the only concern here is we're starting to see price get squeezed more at the top level. So if price can come up to, we're looking to somewhere in the region of $39,000 per coin, then a break of that, we then could see potentially price coming up into the $50,000 mark. So if we look at this zone here, that is going to be looking at the target area of where price, I think, potentially could move. Now, I think the only downside to this at the moment is that the volatility seems to have gone out of Bitcoin. It's only moving around about the 1 to 2% per day mark. I think that's a real shame, because when we were seeing 5-10%, that's where you can now really see the big massive gains on cryptocurrency. But yeah, it's definitely one I'm watching this week for the stuff I've got in my crypto wallets, to make sure that if Bitcoin comes up, that's going to have a good effect on the rest of my currencies and potentially start to hold on for a little bit longer or reduce the portfolio on some of those. So let's go back to gold. I think someone said in the comments going long. So let's just zoom in. It's really hard to get a sense of the next move or direction just on gold, purely because we're seeing a real consolidation. It's starting to become quite tight between 1881, 1885, so about a $4 price range, and it's probably bouncing around that for potentially the next couple of hours. There's no major news coming out, so it's going to do nothing until the US comes online at 2:30 this afternoon. I can see the UK session, London session, just really keeping it where it is. There's no reason for them to do anything. I think the main volume will come on at 2:30 this afternoon. And we've seen that many times with the US, especially in gold, is that they do a complete reversal of what's happening in the Asia UK sessions. And so if we're seeing price potentially coming down over the next couple of hours, there's a potential for the US to come in and completely reverse that and push price back up to 1900. I don't know what's going to happen at the moment. I've got my trade in there. I'm definitely short. I'm much more bearish on gold at the moment, but I do have my stop loss in a place where I'm only going to risk that 1%, and so I'm not going to be too worried, although on this particular account, on the FTMO challenge, that would put me back into a negative. So what I will be doing is, if it does start to get down to those levels where I'm looking at losing that 1%, I potentially might close off prior to that, just to protect the capital. I've said that before, is that one of the biggest things in all these is making sure that the capital you have, you're protecting at all times and don't risk going into significant drawdown. Although if I was to lose 1% from here, that would put me back to where I was at day one. So back down to minus 0.5%, which again in the scheme of things is not huge. I still have 20 trading days on this particular challenge. So I only need to be making 0.5% per day. I want to be getting up to, ideally 1 to 2% on some of these days, but I can't force the markets to give me money when there isn't any there. I can only take what is being offered. And at the moment, there is nothing being offered on these particular currency pairs or commodities I'm looking to trade, which is a real shame. Just see if anything's happened on euro. So this is the 1 hour chart on euro. We are starting to see a significant number of red candles coming in, which obviously more sellers. It was a bit more negative this morning, and obviously when the UK session opened up, there's a bit more of a push to the upside. But since then, the sellers have come in, and I think they're now starting to take a lot more control of the market. Again, just on the 1 hour chart, nothing significant here that shows a new trend or new change of direction. It is very much in this sort of range bound 121.50 to 121.70, so only a 20 pip range pretty much on euro, which is quite small. We're really waiting for that big day when it does move 100 or more. But for me personally, I do think there's a bit more selling pressure. I was watching a few videos over the weekend of some other traders to do a lot more analysis of the currency pairs, and he was particularly more bullish. He was looking for price to bounce out. I think if we look slightly higher time frame, his expectation was that price was going to come back into here and do a bit of a consolidation and then back all the way up into 122, 123. Now, I commented on that one saying that I think this non-farm payroll correction was purely an anomaly, which was a daily change into what would have been a continued downward pressure. If non-farm payroll hadn't happened or there'd been a slightly different news announcement, then price definitely would have been all the way down. We would have been down at 1.2 very, very easily. And we can see obviously there's a little bit of support around at the 1.2 level. If those figures were out differently, price would have been down at 1.2 easily on Friday with no question at all. So that's why I was saying that non-farm payroll is one of those days where definitely is a day not to trade, and it really is a case of just waiting for the news to be digested. And I think when the US come online this afternoon, they would have had all of Friday to digest it. They would have obviously looked over the weekend, and there's potentially we might start seeing more moves coming in on the euro, especially on, for me, I'm looking to sell. But as there's not much going on at the moment in the markets, I could sit here probably for another half an hour and talk and bore people to death. But I think with the weather here, the sun's come out again just now, I think it might be more productive for me to go to the beach, have a walk on the sand and just clear my head, get some fresh air, and then come back probably around about 2 o'clock and just see what the US does. Because this UK session, the London session today, there's going to be nothing moving. There's no news, nothing coming out. It's just, I don't want to waste my time sitting in front of a screen. I can do this for 8 hours a day if I have to. I'd rather not. I'd rather just come in at times when there's volume in the market and the price is likely to move. So for me, I'm probably going to wrap up this stream for now and just really hope all you guys watching or watching on the reviews later have a fantastic day. Make sure you manage your risk. Don't get into any silly trades. Really wait until the trades come to you. And just enjoy your day. If you can get outside, enjoy the sunshine. And just have very successful, very happy days. And I will probably set up another stream for tomorrow. And we can then review this trade I'm in now. See if it did come off or whether I have to change my strategy in the afternoon to reduce my risk or close out for a small loss. So it's going to be interesting. session tomorrow. A bit more to talk about, I think, and hopefully there'll be some slightly more exciting times on the charts and things moving around a bit more, so we can actually get into, as always, maybe some live trades and manage those as we go through. So yeah, thanks for everyone for joining me today. I appreciate all of the time you guys are watching these videos, and I will set up another stream for tomorrow at about 11 o'clock, and I'll see you all again then. Thanks a lot for joining. Cheers.